Good morning, fourth graders. This is Mrs. Spears with lesson 9.4. It is Monday, April 27th. I'm going to do this whole section today with you, so we're not breaking this one apart. I'm starting on page 513, relating fractions, decimals, and money. So some of this money stuff you should know from previous grade levels. So it's kind of connecting what we just learned about decimals with money, which is should be some stuff you already know. All right, it says unlock the problem. Together, Julie and Sarah have $1 in quarters. They want to share the quarters equally. How many quarters should each girl get? And how much money is this? So they remind you over here, just a little bit of a refresher. $1 is 100 cents. 1 quarter is 25. A dime is 10, and a penny is 1 cent. Use the model to relate money, fractions, and decimals. So just use the pictures. So 4 quarters equals $1, which is said that's how much they said they had. They have $1 in quarters. So each quarter is 25 cents, and 25 times 4 is 100, which is one whole dollar. 1 quarter is 25 hundredths, or 1/4 of a dollar. 2 quarters is 50 hundredths, like 50 cents. 2/4 are 1/2 of a dollar. 1/2 of a dollar is 50 cents, and written both ways. And then circle the number of quarters each girl should get. So if we were to take these quarters, divide them evenly into 2 groups, because we're giving one group of it to one girl and the other group of it to the other girl. Each girl should get 2 quarters, or 50 cents. So if you look at this as just a decimal, it would be 0 and 5 tenths, or 0 and 50 hundredths. Both of them equal the same way. Both of them represent 1/2, which is half of a dollar. So that one girl gets half of the dollar. So that's what it represents in decimal notation. All right, and then it says use money to model decimals. So we've been using these kind of models to help us learn decimals. We said that when one whole model is filled in, it represents 1 as a whole number, which means the 1 would go to the left of the decimal point. If we only had 10 of them filled in, then that was 1/10 of a whole, which means that the 1 would go in the 10ths place, which is 1 right after the decimal place. And then if we had only 1, or like a number of squares that are less than 10, that goes in the hundredths place, because that would be how many hundredth blocks would be filled in. And that goes in the last place value over there. So a dollar represents a whole model, because it's $1 is 100 cents, a whole 100. So we can use a hundreds grid to represent what a fraction of a dollar would be. A dime is 10 cents, so that would be one dime is equal to 1/10 of the model, so 10 of these filled in. And then a penny is equal to 1/100th of a dollar, so 1/100th square is filled in here. So with this one, because it's a whole dollar, a whole model is filled in. A whole model has 100 squares in it. So that means a whole dollar represents 100 cents. With this one, we have 10 filled in for 1 dime, because it represents 10 cents. So this would be 0, because there are no whole numbers on this one. It's just a partial. 0 and 10 cents. Or 0 and 1/10. Or 10 hundredths, however you look at it. And then 1 penny is 1/100th, so we're going to write it as 0, whole numbers. 0 tenths, because we have no tenths. It's not even 10 whole ones filled in. We have just 1/100th block filled in. So we write it as 1 cent. Turn the page. It says, think of dollars as ones, dimes as tenths, and pennies as hundredths, which is what we just talked about. So they took the dollar amounts and wrote them into the place value charts that we've been using in other lessons. It says, think $1.56 is $1. Excuse me. Sorry about that, allergy season. $1.56 is $1.56. Now, could this be $1, 5 dimes, and 6 pennies? Absolutely, it could be. But It's having you think about it in terms of just pennies over here. So there are 100 pennies in $1, which we just talked about. So $1.56 is equal to 156 pennies. 100 pennies in this dollar and 56 pennies in the change. Same thing over here. If we were to take off the dollar sign, it doesn't change the value of our number. They just wrote it in words. But it's they have it written as dollars, dimes, and pennies here. But it represents the same thing over here. The dollars are the whole numbers, the ones or tens or hundreds or however big it is. And then the dimes is the tenths, because a dime is 1/10 of a dollar. And then the hundredths are the pennies, because each penny is 1/100th of a dollar. Okay, so it says shade the decimal model to show the money amount. Then write the money amount and fraction in the terms of dollars. So here they gave us some change. What I like to do is I like to start with the bigger amounts first, and then I count on from there. So they gave us 10 cents and 2 5-cent pieces, 2 nickels, and then they gave us a penny. So for me, this would be 10, 15, because each nickel is 5, 10, 15, 20, 21. So they already gave me the fraction, so 21 hundredths. I only have 21 hundredths of a dollar. I don't have a whole dollar. This is just the piece of the dollar that I have. So to represent 21 hundredths, I need to shade in 21 boxes. So there's 10, 21, which if we were to write that in decimal notation, in terms of dollars, it would be 0 whole dollars, because I don't have a whole model filled in, 0 whole dollars and 21 cents. 2 tenths and 1 100th. 2 tenths and 1 100th. All right, so this one includes the dollar plus all the change. So this is a whole dollar, so I'm going to go ahead and shade in this whole model to represent that whole dollar. Okay, 1 whole dollar. And let's count this change together. So that's 25. Start with the quarter. 25 plus 10 is 35. Plus 10 again is 45. Plus 1 is 46. So this represents 46 cents. Again, not a whole dollar here, just 46 hundredths of a dollar, because it's only 46 cents. So it says $1 and 46 hundredths down here, and then I'm going to shade in 46 hundredths over here. So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 6. Okay. So this is $1.46, or 1 whole dollar and 46 hundredths of another dollar. So that's how much change we have. All right, so now we're going to fill in this chart. This one is kind of fun because they give you like pieces of it and you kind of have to like figure out the mystery pieces behind it. So this is 3 cents in money amount. The decimal is the same. So the decimal and the money amount are the same. They look this exact same as each other, except for the money amount will always have the dollar sign on it. So 3 cents is the same thing as 3 pennies. And the fraction would be 3 100ths of a dollar. There's only 3 cents. If we were to model that in one of these guys, we'd only color in 3 little squares. Next one is 25 cents. So that's a quarter, which means my decimal stays the same. It's still 25 hundredths of a dollar. So they wrote the fraction for me, 25 hundredths, or that reduces down to 1/4. That's the simplest form of this fraction. I'm really going to be sticking with the tenths and the 100ths because that's what this chapter is about. But they do connect that to the 1/4 for you as well. So 25 cents is just 1/4. 2 quarters and 1 dime. So let's say they say that's going to be 60 cents, 60 out of 100 cents. So I can write that as $0 and 60 cents. which as a decimal is just 0 and 60 hundredths, or 0 and 6/10. Same thing. And then I've got 2 $1 bills, so that's $2, and 5 nickels, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So this is $2 and this is 25 cents. I can put those two together in my amount here. As a fraction, that's going to be 2 whole dollars and 25 hundredths of another dollar. Now, if they had this much and said, okay, how much more money do they need to hit $3? Well, you can find the difference between that two. $3 minus 2.25 is 75 cents. So a 75 added to this would complete this 100 and make it a whole 1 and add it to the 2. So that's, if you have questions like that, that's what it's talking about. And then as a decimal, it's just written the same way as we do for the money notation. It's $2, or 2 whole and 25 hundredths. All right, over to page 515. It says, write the amount of money as a decimal in terms of dollars. So, let's see, they give us 5 pennies over here. 5 pennies equals 5 1/100ths of a dollar, which means we write it like this. 0 whole, 0 tenths, because we don't even have 10, we just have less than 10. So this is 0 in the tenths place, and we put the 5 in the 100ths place, because this is 5 1/100ths of a dollar. Okay, this one says write the total money amount, then write the amount as a fraction and or mixed number, and as a decimal in terms of dollars. So it'd be like just like doing more of this chart here. Instead of doing this part, they give you pictures instead. So again, I like to start with the biggest amount because it helps me with the counting part. So these are each 25 cents because they're all quarters. These are 10 and these are 4. So I've got 25 plus 25 plus 25, that's 75 cents. Plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30 cents over here. And 4 cents. Whenever I'm counting money in real life, this is kind of what I do. I always, I break them up into like types of coins or dollar bills. And then I count up each group and then I add them all together. It kind of, if you're able to go from like here and just kind of add on from there, that's fine. This just helps my brain to keep things organized so I don't mess something up. So 75 plus 30 would be 105, plus 4 would be 109. So this is 109. Which means if we write this as dollars, it's not $109, it's $1.09 because it's 109 cents altogether. I know there's 100 cents in a dollar, so I'm going to do 109 cents because it comes from being 109 cents to start with. So to write that as a fraction, I have one whole number. And then I've got 9 1/100ths of the next dollar. There's only 9 cents toward that next dollar. And then to write that as a decimal in terms of dollars, it's just written the same way as the money amount. 1 9/100ths. All right, this one, we've got 25 cents. So I've got 25 from the quarters. I've got 10, 20 from the dimes, and 5, 10, 15 from the nickels. Add those together. 25 plus 20 is 45, plus 15 is 60. So this would be 60 cents altogether, which we write as $0 and 60 cents. 6/10 or 60 hundredths. Because it's 60 hundredths of a dollar, or 6/10 of a dollar. That's why the 6 goes in the tenths place. But by adding the 0 to the end here, even though this and 0.6 would be the same amount, when you're writing in terms of dollars, you want to make sure you always have a number in that second place, in that hundredths place, because that's how you would write with money notation. So then, because there's no whole number, I'm not going to write a mixed number. It's just going to be a fraction. It's 60 1/100ths, so I'm going to write this as 60 1/100th. You could also write it, like I said, as this. It would be 6/10 of a dollar. That is true as well. I've been sticking with the hundredths notation because a lot of the questions in this section use that. Also because we're talking about in terms of money. So when we're talking about in terms of money, we really have to think about it as like how much change is it, how many cents of the 100 cents is represented there. It's not always represented in tenths. It's just represented as 100ths with money. And then the other decimal, I forgot, is this part right here. So it's the same thing, right? The same way, just without the dollar sign. So it says, these 4 fractions, it wants you to write as a money amount and as a decimal in terms of dollars. So there is no whole dollar on this one. It's 92 hundredths, which means it's 92 cents. So I'm going to write that as dollar sign, 0, and 92 cents. Which just written as a plain decimal is 0 and 92 hundredths, or 0 and 9/10 and 2 hundredths, but that's kind of a long name, so it's just 92 hundredths. This is 7 hundredths, so that would be like 7 pennies. So that would be 0 and 7 cents, or 0 and 7 hundredths. No whole number on this one. So this would be 16 hundredths, so that would be 16 cents, which is the same thing as 0 and 16 hundredths. 53 hundredths, same thing. It would be 53 cents. And then this would be 0 and 53 hundredths. So the difference between the money amount and the decimal amount, obviously it's a dollar sign, but it's also in how you say it. You know, this is a dollar, you know, and when we were saying money amounts, we don't say, oh, I have 92 hundredths of a dollar. It's just not how we talk. We would say we have 92 cents, but 92 cents in decimals, just plain decimals, is said as 0 and 92 hundredths. So that's how they're connected. All right, I want you to pause the video here so that you can try. I want you to try these ones on your own, all of these ones, and then I'll go over the answers with you once you unpause it. All right, here's your answers. So again, I start with my dimes. So I got 10, 20, 30, 5, 10, 15, and 1. So 30 plus 15 is 45, plus 1 is 46. So this is 46 cents. So $0.46. Write it as a fraction. It's 46 hundredths. No whole number because there's no whole dollars there. It's just change. And then written as just a plain decimal is 0 and 46 hundredths. So 46 cents, 46 hundredths, 46 hundredths. So we do have a whole dollar here. So that's a whole dollar. Boop. And 25 cents plus 5 cents plus 2 cents. So 25 plus 5 is 30, plus 2 is 32. So this is $1.32, which as a fraction is 1 whole and 32 hundredths. And as a decimal, it's 1 and 32 hundredths. Write a money amount as a decimal in terms of dollars. Write as a money amount and a decimal. So this would be like these ones right here that we did up here. So I've got 27 hundredths. So that would be $0.27. Or as a plain decimal is 0 and 27 hundredths. This is 4 hundredths. So that would be $0.04. And then we could write that as a plain decimal as 0 and 4 hundredths. Same thing with these ones all the way down here. No whole numbers, so it's a 0. And 75 cents, which would be 0 and 75 hundredths. 100 out of 100, you know, is 1 whole. So that would be 1 whole dollar, 0 change. And it would be 1 and 0. right, this one is the same thing as these ones up here. They just didn't give you pictures. So you have to count it, knowing what you know about each one of these. So when I did these earlier, I just wrote over top of each one what each one represented. So I have 1 quarter, and that's 25 cents. 6 dimes is 60 cents. 8 pennies is 8 cents. And then I added them all together. 25 plus 60 is 85, plus 8 is 93. So this is 93 cents altogether. So I have 0 and 93 cents. Written as a fraction is 93 hundredths of a dollar. And then written as a plain decimal is 0 and 93 hundredths. And finally, we've got 3 dimes, and that's 30, because it's 10 for each one times 3. 5 nickels would be 5 times 5, and that's 25. And 20 pennies. So I add those together, that's 55, plus 20 is 75. So that would be 0 and 75 cents, 75 hundredths, and 75 hundredths in decimal form. Alright guys, if you have any questions about this, you can send me a message. If you join me today for Zoom, I will be working on page 517 with you. Again, this only works though if you join on Monday, April 27th for Zoom. So check out your lesson plans and figure out how you can log into Zoom if you need some help with this. If you can't get into Zoom, just send me a message and I will work something else out with you. I will talk to you later. Bye!